What's up guys? So I've been grinding Mario Kart lately, and you know what? It's wild how one blue shell can ruin everything. You're cruising, thinking you've got it in the bag, and then boom, last place. Frustrating, right? I mean, whoever programmed the RNG in this game clearly doesn't know how to program. And that got me thinking, how hard could it be to make a Mario Kart game? I bet I could build one in under 24 hours, and I'd make the RNG way better. Alright, so a Mario Kart game boils down to 4 basics: the player, the track, the opponents, and the power-ups. My goal is simple: capture the Mario Kart essence, and yes, fix that RNG. First things first, I spent some time modeling and coloring everything from characters and cards to tracks and power-ups. I'm going for a retro vibe, basing it off Mario Kart 64, the classic. It's simple, iconic, and has all the essentials. The first thing I took care of was the player. It starts with a simple box. It moves using the W and S keys by pushing it forwards and backwards. The A and D keys rotate it left and right. Notice that I'm not pushing it left and right, I'm simply rotating it and changing the direction in which it's being pushed. We now have a basic car, so let's give it a reskin and put it on a test track. And that's not good. It seems like our car is sliding. Let's fix it. This green arrow represents the car's speed. As you can see, when we move in one direction, the car speed is perfectly in line with the car. But when we move in 2 directions, it is not. This is because the car has a horizontal and a vertical speed component. The resulting speed is then somewhere between both components, making the car move in a different direction from the one it's facing. This is the same reason why real-life cars skid on curves. To fix this, we simply have to rotate the car speed component so that it faces the same direction as the car. Using the lerp function, we can accomplish this. Using a higher turn speed will rotate the car speed faster, giving us a car that will turn sharper. The idea is to give it an intermediate value to make turning more challenging. I also made it so that when turning, the car will lose speed. This is to encourage you to drive as straight as possible. To spice things up, I added drifting. It's really simple. We can detect when the car is turning if the car speed is not in line with the car. When this happens, an angle is created between the speed and the car. If this angle is big enough, in my case I chose 20 degrees, we can press a button and tell the car to start a drift. A drift is basically a very sharp turn. So, changing the turn speed of the car to a very high value will give us the drift we want. I added skid marks to the road so that you know when you are drifting. I also added a speedometer to show how fast you are going. And that's our player done. Let's move on to the track. We already have a track to race on, but there are a few things we need to add to make it a functional track. I started with the lap counter. It's really simple. Basically, the track is divided into 6 sections. Each time the player enters a section, a script will check if the player has already entered the previous section. If so, the section will be marked as entered correctly. This ensures that the player enters the sections in order. This way, the player can't skip parts of the track and gain an unfair advantage. When the player has passed through all the sections, a lap will be counted. Next, I added place checkers. These allow us to see the position of the cars. It will order the car's position based on the order of entry. The positions will be more accurate in real time if we have more place checkers. Lastly, I added a minimap so we can see where we are on the track. This is a little bit more complicated, but basically we establish a distance relationship between the world and the minimap. For example, 1 meter in the real world is 0.5 meters on the minimap. Having this relationship allows us to assign a square to the player that moves on the minimap when the player moves. That's the track done. Time for the opponents. You might think that I have to do the same thing as the player, but thankfully Unity has integrated AI that we can use. I'm talking about nav meshes. Basically, we have a designated area where the opponents will move. Our track. Unity will then move the opponents to any point we want inside the track. The cool thing about nav meshes is that they avoid obstacles, so the opponents can get to their destination no matter how irregular the path is. To make them do laps on the tracks, we set a target for them. Once they reach the target, another one will appear, and then they will start heading to the other target. To make things more interesting, each time a race starts, the opponent's speed will be randomized, so we won't always know who is the fastest. I also made it so that if the opponents fall too far behind, they will speed up to catch the player. And if the player falls too far behind, the opponents will slow down so that the player can catch up, also known as rubber banding. This is to make sure that the race has that unpredictability Mario Kart is known for. And yes, rubber banding can be annoying, but without it, races would be boring. You would practically always win with no one to challenge you. But a Mario Kart game is incomplete without that freaking annoying blue shell. Here are all the items I added. I won't go into details about how each one works because, well, everybody knows what a banana does, or a mushroom, or a blue shell. But I will show you the RNG of what items you or the opponent gets. It can either be completely random, or depending on what position you're in, you can have a higher chance of getting certain items. And I hate to admit it, but whoever programmed the RNG in Mario Kart does know what they are doing. When items are chosen randomly, the race depends completely on luck, which isn't fun. I mean, since when is having a shock in first place fair? Having the items chosen depending on your position encourages you to be a better driver because that's how you win. But it doesn't eliminate that luck factor that makes you doubt if you will win, even if you are in first place. So yeah, getting blue shelled is annoying, but it's way more fun that way. Having everything done, let's get rid of that ugly track and make something more pleasing to the eyes. And that's it guys, Mario Kart in 24 hours. If you liked the video and want to see more content like this, make sure to like, comment and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Till next time guys, don't forget to do your homework.